Good morning to all. I am Professor Subramanian from Department of Economics, PU College, Vidhyaashram PU College. Today we are going to look into the most important topic, that's the introduction to microeconomics. Now, economics as a subject is divided into two major parts. One is the micro part, the other one is the macro part. So we have microeconomics and macroeconomics. Now, going forward in this class, we are going to start with the introduction to microeconomics, where we are going to learn about what is microeconomics, what are the importance of the subject, and where are we going further in terms of taking economics as a subject of greater learning altogether. So starting with the class today, let's move on to the first slide where we're going to talk about the introduction to microeconomics. So coming on to the first slide where we're going to understand what is microeconomics altogether. It all started with the origination of a Greek word where we had spoken about the concept of micros. That is the basic to start microeconomics. So the word microeconomics started with the Greek word micros, and it means the study of individual needs and wants. That's where the concept of microeconomics is very, very important for us. Micro means small. The study about a single person, a single entity, or a single organization. So what we are going to look here is about that single person, his needs, his wants, his behavior, his pattern of understanding himself better. So that is where the concept of microeconomics begins with. So what is that we need to understand as students of economics is the behavior of the individual. This is very, very important. We are not psychologists, but yes, from an economic standpoint, we need to know how an individual behaves when he comes in terms of understanding his needs and wants. As an individual, myself, I have several needs and wants. It might be physical, materialistic, emotional. There are so many factors that are involved in needs and wants. But then, when it comes to economics, you need to understand that each and every single individual is different. So his needs and wants in the economy, in the country are different. So as economic students, we need to focus on every single individual, try to understand his needs and wants. That's how we will be able to understand the need of microeconomics in our day-to-day life. Going forward, we are going to also understand a smaller but yet an important concept called as the concept of supply and demand. Economics is never complete without these two words, supply and demand. Now, what are they in terms of the economic definition? We will understand about them in the coming chapters. But the words supply and demand are the two crucial words that you will need to learn as you go forward with the subject of economics. Supply in simple words mean where the object, where the material is being supplied. Demand is the need. This is the position where the consumer creates for his needs and wants. So he is trying to create a demand. He's trying to create a necessity for himself. So that's where that word demand comes in. Moving on to the next slide. We are going to deal with three key issues. Three factors of microeconomics. Probably these are the three issues that is being dealt across the globe, across every single geographic region as far as possible. What are those three issues? What to produce, for whom to produce, and how to produce. Production itself as a concept is the most important factor that man learned as he started moving forward, as he started making a progress in life. So economics also starts concentrating on the same concept called production. So that's why the word produce, what to produce, how, for whom to produce, and how to produce. So we are concentrating on production only from three different angles as far as possible. The first angle, what to produce. What is that as a country that we expect that to be produced? Is it rice? Is it wheat? Is it gold? Silver? What is that you want your country to produce? We are all individuals who are built upon expectations. So we believe that every time our expectations will keep on changing, and our dynamics when we start talking about economics is entirely different. Today I might be in need of rice, tomorrow I might be in need of wheat, day after tomorrow it might be about some other material. But can the country keep on producing and satisfying the needs of people day-to-day basis? The answer is definitely not. So we need to come to a point where we need to understand what exactly needs to be produced. What is that that's the need of the hour? What is that that can satisfy the people, satisfy those millions and millions of people who are living in your country? So what is that we need to be producing every day, month on month, year on year, so that we can satisfy the basic needs of people? The second factor, for whom to produce? The answer is there in the question, no doubt about it. For whom to produce? It is definitely for the citizens, for the people. We go by our constitution, for the people, of the people, and by the people. The same answer lies in this question also. Definitely we are producing for the people. But instead of the word people, I'm just going to use slightly a different word, and that word is consumer. Because the person who is going to consume this production, his name is consumer. So for that consumer, for that individual consumer, for those hundreds and thousands of those individual consumers, we are going to produce. It might be rice, it might be wheat, it might be gold, silver, uranium, platinum, whatever material that we are talking about, but we are going to produce for that single consumer. That consumer is going to be very important for us because he is going to be the part of the economy. He is going to run the economy, and he is the most essential part of this economy. How to produce? The most technical question that you can ask in economics. How to produce? So I do not know the methodology. I theoretically know that there are so many materials available. I theoretically know that there are so many factors available. But how can I combine this? What is the best technology I can apply? What is the best factors that I can put in so that I get the optimum produce altogether? So how to produce is more of a technical question rather than just a theoretical question. It is a question where you try to understand what are the factors that we can use in order to produce the best quantity, the optimum level of quantity that we need to produce. So when we talk about how to produce, we are going to look into all the factors: man, material, labor, land, capital, all those factors that are needed to produce the required material, the required output. So how to produce is going to be always a question that depends on the way how we use the technology, the resources that we have in our country. So just a quick recap. The three questions that we need to remember always: what to produce, for whom to produce, and how to produce. These three factors should always be there in the mind of every single individual who's going through the study of microeconomics. Going forward, now we come to this word called as the problem of scarcity. Now there is no problem with scarcity if you really look. What is the real problem? When people ask me this question, sir, is economics always about negativity? Because you started with telling about individual needs, you started talking about production, now you're talking about the problem itself. No, economics is not definitely about negative words, but economics is about reality. In reality, The word that is always important for us to learn is limited. Because when we talk about this word limited, everything that we have in our country, in this world, is limited. Starting from water, land, air, every single factor that we are going to talk about in our day-to-day life is a limited factor. It is not unlimited. So the moment the word unlimited comes to us, we are excited. But in reality, in economics, limited is the word that we have to keep in our minds. Because every single resource that we are going to speak about is limited in nature. So keeping that context in mind, let's get into the factors of the problem of scarcity. Now, what does the problem of scarcity say? It says that if the resources are not efficiently managed, then there can be a problem. So that's why I highlight the word efficient use of resources. Everybody will use resource. If we have petroleum, yes, we would use it. We have uranium, we will use it. We have silver, we will use it. But then, how efficient are you in using that resource? That matters to the country. Since you have resources, you cannot just use it unexceedingly above. You need to use it with a particular level, with a particular standard, with a particular measurement. So that's where we use this word efficient use of resources. The second factor, fuller employment of resources. Very, very important word. Why? Because most of the countries always feel that what is the optimum level? Should I use 90% of my resource? Should I use 80%, 70%? A question of dilemma, a question of thought. The answer to this, economics says, use it 100% to the best level possible. Why? Because you don't want to compromise in the output. You want 100% output. You want your country to have the maximum benefit. If you want to have the maximum benefit of all your resources, you need to employ 100% of your resources. So you need to make the best use of land, labor, capital, whatever facilities that are available, make the fullest use of it. Then you will be able to see the best output coming out for your country, best output coming out for that individual. So the fuller employment of resources. Last but not the least, the problem of growth. This is a very, very simple factor. I would like to use a very common example here, and that example is Complan. Whenever you see the Complan advertisement, it has always talked about the growth of a child, the physical growth of a child, height. Now, that has always been a concern for us as kids. We always say, sir, when will we grow? Today I'm a small kid. Tomorrow will I grow further? Will I grow more taller? Will I grow more bigger? The similar question comes to the economics also. Problem of growth. Today, if I am at 7% GDP, tomorrow can I become 8%? Day after tomorrow, can I become 10, 12, 15? The question of growth always lingers in the mind of the economy, in the mind of the country. They do not want to stop at a point. We want to grow. We want to progress. We want to go and tell this world that we are unstoppable. So the problem of growth is always there when it comes to economics. Because the resources are scarce, the ideology is scarce, but then the concept of growth is unlimited in our mind. We don't want to stop at a point. Whatever might be the situation, whatever challenging scenario you are facing, but then the mind in your process, you would always have it that I want to grow, I want to make a progress, I want to move further. So the problem of growth is a very, very big challenge when it comes to economics. Is that clear? So can we just make a move to the next slide? What are the three types of economy? Now we are going to use that word economy, and we are going to come into the core economics altogether. So when we talk about this word called as types of economy, which means there are several methods, there are several types, there are several ways of looking into an economy altogether. Now, we have three primary types. The first type, centrally planned economy. The second one, capitalistic economy. And the third one, mixed economy. What are these kinds of economy? We are going to see them in detail. But first, I want you to learn these three keywords. Centrally planned economy. So we have the keyword here, centrally. So there is some emphasis on that word. Capitalistic, another new word that has to be kept in the mind. Capitalistic. And next the word mixed. So we also have this word called mixed economy. Now let's go further in order to understand in depth what are these three kinds of economy. Moving on. Centrally planned economy. As the word central exists, coming to the Indian economy scenario, the word centrally or central denotes the central government. So we are talking about government coming into picture. So that's why I use the first key point or the key highlighter here, run by the government. So this word has to be underlined and kept in mind. Government. Centrally planned economy means government is taking full charge of the economy. All the major decisions are taken by the government. Individual or private organizations are not going to make a difference. The government says whether we can go for it or not. So the government becomes the final decision maker. Prices are determined. This word is very important. Why? Many a time people ask this question, sir, who decides the price of rice? Who decides the price of gold? Who decides the price of a share? Who decides a price of a commodity? The answer to it is many. There can be individuals, there can be entity, organizations, but in this type of economy, we don't have options. We don't have choices. The only person, the only entity that makes a decision is the government. The prices are determined by the government. So if the government says 30 rupees 1 kg of rice, it is final. You don't have a position to bargain, you don't have a position to argue. The government says 30 rupees and that is fine. So every single decision that you are going to see in the government, that you are going to see in the centrally planned economy are done by the government, and the government is going to take care of this system. So when we talk about the centrally planned economy, it's a very, very critical form of government. It's seen in very, very rare countries these days. Why? Because most of the government have today moved to a different format. We'll talk about it later. But then, just to give you an example, North Korea is one of the most important forms of centrally planned economy. More than using the word dictatorship, I would like to use this word centrally planned economy as an example towards North Korea, because that is a country where you see that government takes decision starting from the basic need to the most advanced need as far as possible. So that is the core concept of centrally planned economy. So you need to keep the word in mind, government. You need to understand the word decisions which have to be taken. And last but not the least, you also need to understand prices are determined. So that's very, very important. How much a consumer can spend, how much a consumer can buy, all the things are determined by the prices, and the prices are set by the government. So that is what we mean by centrally planned economy. Moving forward. Capitalistic economy. The word itself is quite interesting. So what do you mean by capitalistic economy? Why is this word coming into picture? We need to thank the great country, United States of America. They were the founders of capitalistic economy. So what is so great about the capitalistic economy? It is run by private institution, entirely different to or contradictory to the centrally planned economy. We are just the opposite. We don't believe that there is government always. We don't have to depend on the government always. We have to depend on ourselves. We run the economy. We are the movers. We are the people, and we are the persons who are going to decide the future of economy. That is exactly a capitalistic economy run by private institutions. They are the people who say that the economy is yours and you decide how you move it. So that's why they say more power to the consumer. So this is the first time in economy, again, you're going to learn consumers being given the choice. So today, in a capitalistic economy like America, for example, the consumers have the choice. They have the final say. It is not the government. If the consumers feel that this price is not acceptable, they need to be changed. If the consumers feel that this mode of transport is not acceptable, they need to be changed. Because it is a capitalistic economy. It is not an economy which can be dictated. It is an economy which has to be dedicated towards the consumers. You cannot dictate terms. You need to dedicate yourself. You need to understand the consumers. And you need to believe that it is for them and it will be driven by them. So that's why we say driven towards monetary demand. So which means to say that it creates an impulse in the economy. It creates an open market. If you have the capacity to participate, you have the capacity to buy, you have the capacity to go forward, we are giving you a chance. We are not holding anybody back in a capitalistic economy. It's a more or less a free blend. So any consumer can buy things according to his will and wish. There are options available. So coming back again, capitalistic economy, the first thing that should ring in our minds is that run by private institution. It is just the opposite of centrally planned economy. More power to the consumer. Consumer is the center. Keeping the consumer in mind, you decide and do anything as far as possible. It is appreciated. Last, more driven towards monetary demand. So that's always based on the money power, the purchasing power. The more the money, the more you participate, the more you can buy. So those are the three factors of capitalistic economy. Moving on, we have to see about the mixed economy. What is this mixed economy all about? Now, this is a new word altogether in economics. So we understand government at one side, we understand private organizations at the other side. But where is this mixed economy? Something in the middle. What is that we are trying to talk about? This is exactly an economy which is run by government and private. That's the most important factor that we have to keep in mind. So now we are going to talk about a participative economy. Both the people are coming together. Government is also coming together. Private organizations are also coming together. So we are talking about a participative economy. Both of them want to contribute towards the growth of the economy. More of democracy orientation. This word is important. Why? Because now we are talking about freedom. We are talking about choice. We are saying that you also have an equal priority. You can also participate with us in any of the major decisions taken. So that's where mixed economy comes into picture. Giving that power, giving that freedom to the people. Prices will be determined both by government and private. Now, this is where it becomes even more crucial. So every single decision, the same price of the rice will not be decided only by government. It will be decided by the common man also. So it becomes very important here that the prices will be determined by both the government and private organizations. So we are not going to give up so easily. We are going to participate with the government. We are going to understand, and then we are going to take decisions. So this is a new form of government. On a quick recap note, we need to understand this is a government where you have both the government as well as the private organization, a participative joint. Next, it is more towards democracy. So I'm giving you the freedom to participate, more towards the consumer, the people. It will have a price determination done by both the parties. That is by the government side, also by the private side. Now, going forward, we're going to talk about the positive economics. What is so important about positive economics? What does this positive economics mean to us from an economic standpoint? It means that this is the branch of economics that focuses on description and explanation phenomena. So anything in economics that talks about a cause and effect relation, that talks about explanation of something, that talks about how things are going to happen, why did it happen, the reasoning part behind it, that's where positive economics comes into picture. Positive economics is a very, very important branch of microeconomics that tries to understand, that tries to give us all the disciplines, all the values, all the factors that are happening behind a particular scenario, behind a particular factor. Going forward, normative economics. This is the other part of economics which tries to understand about the judgment factor, about the economic fairness. We will try to understand the word economic fairness, but first let us try to understand the word normative and the word judgment. Normative itself means that which happens in a normal scenario, in a normal due course of time. So what happens over a period of time? There are certain opinions, there are certain principles, values that are being expressed by the individuals. The normative judgments. Normally, what kind of judgment, what kind of opinion do you have about a scenario, about a person, about a picture, about a country? That is where normative economics comes into picture. So what does it try to do? It tries to focus on the outcome of the economy, the goals of the public policy should be. So that becomes very, very important here. It focuses on the outcome of the economy. What is that's going to happen? So when you make a statement in economics, the GDP of our country will go up to 10%. What is the outcome because of that? What are the reasons why? How do you predict that's going to happen? So it will try to go towards the goal. It will try to go towards the objective and try to find out what is going to happen. If the GDP goes to 10%, so what is the outcome of that effort on the Indian economy? So that's where it tries to focus on the goals, on the objectives of the economics. So this is why we have two factors. We have positive economics and then we have normative. So moment I use the word positive, if I just go a slide back, I try to talk about this keyword called as description and explanation. And when I move further to normative economics, our keyword here is values and judgment. So this is very, very important for us to keep in mind. Why? Because in the exam, when you write it, you need to keep those keywords and concepts in mind. What do you mean by positive and normative economics? Moving forward, economic analysis. How do you analyze something? Now, in every subject, be it physics, chemistry, mathematics, economics, biology, whichever subject, the word analysis plays a very, very key part. Why? Because you need to understand what is happening around you. You cannot accept things as and when they are happening. You need to understand in depth how the things happen. So for answering the question of how, we get to this word called as analysis. In that analysis, in economic analysis, we have two words, two methodology. First one is deductive methodology, and the second one we will be talking about it. The first one is called as the deductive method. What does the deductive method does? Called the abstract or analytical method. So when we use the word abstract, that means I'm only trying to understand the summary part, the essence. This is what is it. I'm just trying to understand from a bird's eye view. I'm just trying to understand the essence, the core part of it, and it is generally used in the truths deriving conclusions by applying a few general principles. So which means in this methodology, you are just going to take the central idea or theme and just go with it. So if anybody comes and says to you that, free economy is the best economy in the world, it is just a deductive statement. You're not going to just start dwelling into it by putting some mathematical models or factors. You are just going to go with that statement, just going to find out, yes, whether that generally applies to the world, whether it generally applies to every part of this continent, and if it is yes, you're just going to go with it. So that's deductive method. You deduct, you just take it down from that statement and you just go with the flow. So that is what we call it as the deductive method. In this factor, you need to keep this in mind, the word called abstract, and the most important factor, general truths deriving conclusions. These words are very, very important. Why? Because when you write the answer, the keywords form a very, very important factor. So you need to use the word called abstract. You need to see the word called truth, conclusions in your answer. These will definitely fetch you marks in the exam. Moving on to the next slide. Inductive method. This was the second method which I was trying to talk about in economic analysis. It's called as an empirical method. We will try to understand this word empirical itself because it's a very, very important word when it comes to economics. What is the empirical method? Now, conceptual is one method, empirical is the other method. When I say conceptual, that means you're just going with the concept, the theoretical factor. Empirical means you're going to involve certain mathematical models. Now, this is where you are going to use your concept of reasoning. You're going to use the concept of some mathematical model, relationship, and try to understand. So that's why this method was adopted by the historical school of economists. That means it is quite old. This is the old method that has been used by some of the greatest economists who had tried to understand the relationship between various factors of an economy and try to come to a conclusion. So the most important keyword for us, a takeaway for us is moment they use the word inductive method, the mind, we need to get this word called as empirical factor. It's an empirical method. Inductive method equals empirical method, and it is a process. It involves reasoning and generalization. So you have to use that keyword reasoning. Reasoning is very, very important for us because we are not just going to accept facts here. We're going to reason it out. We're going to tell that why it is happening, how it is happening, when it is happening. So we are going to do some sort of in-depth analysis. We are going to use some mathematical models. We are going to use some derivative factors and then come to a conclusion. So the two methods are deductive method and inductive method. Going forward, the uses of microeconomics. There are many uses of microeconomics. Why? Because it deals with individuals like us. So the uses are in number. But then, just to understand from the subject standpoint, from the chapter standpoint, I would like to go through these four important factors. One, it tries to understand the behavior of an individual or consumer, as we told about it or we talked about it in the first slide. Behavior of an individual, very, very important. It tries to understand that individual as close as possible. Second, it tries to understand the proper allocation, utilization of resources. Very, very important factor because resources are not unlimited, they are limited in nature. So we need to concentrate on that resources. Microeconomics helps you to do that. It tells you how to use the resources efficiently and effectively so that you take it forward. The next one, decides the price of various goods and services. That's what we were talking about. The types of government and the types of involvement makes the people also get involved in determining the prices, which in turn will again lead to the demand supply analysis. However, in the coming chapters, we are going to talk about demand supply in depth. But as of right now, the concept of determining prices will be a factor towards demand supply analysis. Going to the last point in the slide, it helps in formulating various economic policies. What are those various economic policies? We read in everyday newspaper, monetary policy, fiscal policy, industrial policy, some financial policies that we keep on reading through. We might not be in depth about it or we might not be an expert on that matter, but then we understand that microeconomics, it is those individuals who actually help in formulating those economic policies. Because whatever the government does, it will try to keep in mind the citizens of the country and formulate a policy that would be beneficial for all. So that's why microeconomics helps in formulating the economic policies for the individual. So that's a very, very important factor. Moving forward, if there are advantages of microeconomics, there are definitely disadvantages too. But I will not use the word disadvantage. I would rather put it on a lighter version. I would use the word limitation. Why limitation? Why? Because microeconomics will not be able to cover the entire economics in one. It has somewhere a little bit of limitation. So where is that limitation coming from? The first one, unrealistic expectations or assumptions, especially in the case of employment and other factors. So I would say that there are certain times when you see that an individual might have unrealistic expectations. He might say that he wants to do something out of the blue. But then microeconomics is just a supportive factor. It will not be able to help him to realize those dreams or those particular factors. So I would say that microeconomics is based on those unrealistic assumptions. It just works on assumption. It's not working exactly on the reality factor. Second one, it is based on dealing with an individual behavior. I repeat this word as many times as possible because individual is the core focus of microeconomics. Every time it's about that single individual. So it deals only with the individual, and every time he might not be able to get the correct information because individuals are not perfect always. So there's always a possibility that there is a mislead in terms of information. There is a wrong factual data that has been put inside. So there are possibilities that you might not get the exact picture that needs to be analyzed for the economy. And last, it assumes that things are same. Now, just to give you understanding about it, as per our constitution, we say that all individuals are equal. But then in economics, we believe that all individuals are not equal because their needs and wants are different. So keeping that in mind, that's where limitation comes inside. It assumes, it believes that everybody are same, but in reality, they are not the same. So that's where this is one of the challenge of or the limitations of microeconomics. So these are the limitations, 3 limitations, and the 4 advantages or the 4 important uses of microeconomics. With this, we come to the conclusion of the first chapter, Introduction to Microeconomics. I hope and believe that you have all understood the concepts of microeconomics. Any questions, any doubts, I would be more than happy to answer. Thank you very much for providing this session. Thank you all for joining.